Okay. Ms. Clark?
Aloha, Council members. My name is Carrie Dickey Clark, and I'm in support of the passage of Bill 129 as a resident not only of Puna, but a primary health care provider and an organic farmer. I want to thank you all for considering this important issue. I feel we have here in the state of Hawaii a unique opportunity to role model thriving and sustainable lifestyles. Let's do that rather than be a worldwide example of how horrifyingly short-sighted and corruptible humans can be. Remember those unintended consequences that a colleague of mine mentioned a wee while ago. And thank you all for considering this important issue. The results of your votes will be with you for the rest of your lives. We all need safe and healthy water and to live in a safe environment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Son. Timothy D. Lloyd. I also live down in Po'owiki. My support for Bill 129, thank you, Brenda, for bringing that up. I do feel that the fine for $1,000 is a joke. Hopefully we don't even have to have any fines because it won't happen. Last year I was driving down Po'owiki Road, right in front of the geothermal gate, to their old access site. I picked up a Hawaiian hawk laying upside down in the middle of the road. And I thought the bird was dead, so I picked it up by its claws, because its claws are facing towards the sky. And it's kind of emotional for me. And so I put this bird in my car and was driving it towards town, and the bird was actually alive. So in the front seat of my car, I had this eel, which is a sacred bird who's also endangered. So I called my friend who's a vet in town, and I brought this bird in, and reflecting back on this, it's like right in front of the gate of the geothermal, in the middle of the road. This bird was flying over and just happened to hit something, and luckily didn't die. And first thing he said, this bird has nerve damage. We live within less than a mile of the geothermal, and every morning I get up and I cough, and I have congestion and things like that. This bill's about fracking. The solution they use in fracking is unknown to the general populace. The EPA cannot regulate it because it's patented. It's a toxic chemical where they've been able to deduce from samples that are taken. I highly encourage you all to see the movie Gasland. There's done a lot of research on trying to figure out what they're using because it is patented. How can you regulate something with EPA that is toxic and they don't know what it is? If fracking is allowed on this island, that's going to be in our water source. We're on a delicate lens. We live down in Po'owiki. We have the water coming into the warm ponds. Viopai, it's a sacred spot and also protected resource. And we also have the Po'owiki boat ramp. All of those are fed by freshwater sources. Geothermal sits right above that. If enhanced geothermal fracking happens, this is guaranteed to leak into our water source. And how are we going to regulate that if it does leak? Where does it go? Water flows downhill. They're drilling above on top of us. So I really hope you support this. It's kind of an emotional thing for me because I've seen what just geothermal alone has been doing to our environment, and we are also part of our environment, so please support this bill. And I highly encourage you again to see Gasland on your own time. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Patsy Ivy and Mary Marvin Porter. Okay. Ms. Ivy?
Hello, my name's Patsy Ivy, and I live right up against geothermal. And I've lived in that little area, Hitanalo Street, from 94 to 2. Then I moved right near geothermal in 2001. I didn't have very good hearing, and I couldn't hear geothermal, and I loved that area. And I believe that chronic low levels affected me because by the time it was 2009, I came down with terrible tendinitis, and I have had 3 surgeries, and I have titanium staples now, and I can't sleep at my house. I have to sleep down the road in my truck, 2 miles down the road. Other than that, I wake up with this vibration, terrible vibration in my head. And so I want to address the fracking issue, and I support Bill 129. I think we're dealing with a contrast between morals and technology. Technology offers us many privileges and opportunities, and our morals offer a future for our children. We live in a me society. We need to live in a slower pace. The pace of nature, the sun comes up and every day it sets. There is a slow natural process every day. The process angle of CEOs is about an 85% angle. For example, Helco, $100,000 every 2 weeks. The CEO of Helco. Today's youth feel that there is no future for them. They look at our corrupt me government. The youth are developing a me attitude that leads to jumping off a cliff. And this is almost like it just happened. Today I picked up a teacher. She was crying. She was at the hot dog tea at the Poiki. And she said, I walked off my job today at Pahoa School. I put the children all in the lab. There's one child that she can't even be around him. They won't take him out of her class. They've done away with the detention center at Pahoa School. There's no psychiatrist for the 7th and 8th graders. She says it always starts like this at the beginning of the year, and she just can't put up with it. Her and the other teachers are writing letters. They say, don't, just be quiet. They'll do something. And I'm just concerned for our youth, too. This is something happened to me today. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Mary Marvin Porter. I live in Hawaiian Paradise Park. I've been a resident here since 1993. In 2005, Vice President Dick Cheney chaired President Bush's Energy Policy Task Force, which recommended fracking be excluded from federal oversight under the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1974. Thus, corporations were exempted from revealing the chemicals used in fracking fluid. Somehow, the fracking industry also managed to be exempt from the Clean Air Act, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, and the Toxic Release Inventory. Since then, fracking on the mainland has resulted in contamination of nearby streams and wells. In some communities, people are able to light the water coming out of their faucets on fire because chemicals from the natural gas drilling process has seeped into their water. In and around Youngstown, Ohio, a single fracking wastewater well triggered 167 earthquakes during a single year of operation. That's according to a study published in the Journal of Geophysical Research. It's not really known why injection wells cause earthquakes. It's hypothesized that they occur when a suitably oriented fault lies near an injection site, and that can't really be known beforehand. As been mentioned also, in Basel, Switzerland, geothermal fracking was done on a known seismic fault, and it generated earthquakes that caused millions of euros in damage to local infrastructure, and the project was canceled. Geothermal industrialization on this island has already caused numerous problems and should not be done close to residential areas. Now it is being proposed to expand geothermal to provide electricity to Oahu via undersea cables between the islands. This is a high-tech approach of prohibitive cost and unecologically sound, crazy idea, especially in these financially unstable times. All across the United States, the well-being of citizens is being disrupted by the fracking industries, industrialization, and contamination of our countryside. Do not support that happening here. If one wants safe, abundant, efficient energy sources, solar is the answer. Solar and wind have none of the risk that you have with geothermal. If something happens in the problem area, you can't solve it if it's geothermal. So I please ask you to support Bill 129. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Mike Hale and Terry Cabrera. Go right ahead, Mr. Hale. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Michael Hale. I live in the 1 mile zone in Leilani Estates. I'm a business owner, serial business owner. I'm third on the list for the relocation program. I got bumped. I was first on the list. I got bumped by a couple of people who were there, prior to they moved in first or whatever. There was an earthquake a couple of nights ago. It was really strong. I woke up in the middle of the night and immediately started thinking, I'm within 1 mile. The drills that they use are 1-2 miles. The technology is, I don't know, they can go several miles. I've looked into some of the drilling, mainland drilling. I'm not sure which type they are using here, but they have directional drilling. Goes down a little bit. They can go over. They can go down more. They can go over this direction, whichever direction they want to go. So with a couple miles, and I'm within 1 mile, potentially they could be right under the house. And now if you add into that they can frack, I guess there's different types of fracking I'm not very familiar with, but as I understand it, they explode the rock and then inject it with water so that the water permeates through whatever. So now the potential is that they drill a mile under to the point under my house. Now they can frack it, blow it up, inject some water there, and then extract the resource. You got to wonder, at what point are they allowed to just drill right into my house? They've got the technology. The technology is there. I mean, they can point the drill whatever they want. The fee for fracking is, as a businessman, a joke. It's not a fine. It's a fee. I don't know how exactly the fine would be placed, but if it's a one-time fee, say maybe they only need to frack or explode once a week. So $1,000, cool. It's part of the process. It only costs $1,000. Do it in a heartbeat because it saves them time and money. So it needs to be quite a bit more, and then it also needs to be defined at what point of that fee is going to be, or fine is going to be part of the fee. Is it just the explosion, or is it the injection as well? I guess that's all I have to say. One other thing is, as a business owner, I see opportunity everywhere. I'm thinking maybe I should open up a Hale exploratory drilling company. Anybody want to help me with that? Let me know, and then we'll move to Kona.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kerberos.
Hi, my name is Terry Kerberos. 54 years ago, I was born on this island, and I was raised on this island. And I am very ashamed to say that, I have family. My family was Kanuha from Opihikau. I have generations of Kanuhas buried there, family buried there. So my roots are very, very deep here. And I'm very ashamed to say that I was one of those locals who had my head stuck in the sand all these years. I was busy raising 3 daughters. They were all involved in 2 or 3 sports activities each. I was working full time. I was taking care of a mother-in-law with Alzheimer's. So all of the excuses. And so I had my head stuck in the sand. And it was only recently, now that my girls are all gone, and it was recently. And I want to thank all the transplants, because to me, they're as local as I am, because they were the ones who came forward, who just come forward and talk about these issues and fight for these islands. And they're as local as I am, as any of our people here, who don't do that because they're so involved in other things. But this is a real concern, and the issues that have been facing us. So I'm just going to speak from the heart. As I don't have a prepared speech. I wasn't going to talk today, but we need to. It hurts my soul to see the issues that we are facing today. what they want to, I mean, the big question is why, it's just beyond me why we are so determined to destroy our planet. Why are we so determined to do things to our planet that wasn't meant to be done? What do we need to do? There has to be alternatives, better alternatives. We need to look at the better alternatives. I just saw on the news last week where solar panels are being put up in the Mojave Desert to supply power to Los Angeles. I mean, we have uninhabitable, isolated lava fields. You know, I don't know if that's a better alternative, but it's an alternative. It's something to be looked forward to. Stop destroying our planet. Stop destroying our island. I speak for our local people who don't know. I talk to them, and they're like, what is fracking? I don't know. What is GMOs? I don't know. All of these issues, a lot of them don't know. So thank you for all of them, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't know. We would be in the dark. We would still be in the dark. And it's only been in the past couple of years that I came out of the dark. So I'm here to stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cabrera. Golf Shaw and Jim Chemo.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is OD Vincent. Did I turn it on? There we go. Okay. My name is OD Vincent, and I'm against the fracking here on the island. I have a master's in engineering, and I've been looking at this issue thanks to my wife, Malia. She prods me forward. And I've looked at this plant down here. I noticed they built it, I think in 1960 somewhere, and they drilled down to reach the lava was 400 some feet. And since then, the pond of lava has dropped, and they are having to drill deeper and deeper and deeper. What this tells me is that this resource is going to run out of steam, basically. So Helco, in my mind, is going to be pouring money into a situation which is going to run out of energy sooner or later. They should be going into solar. That's what they should be doing. Now, I wanted to bring one other issue forward, as you've all looked at all the serious issues of water. But bringing water down, levels down lower and lower, no one, and I see none here today, that have contacted the tourism industry here in Hawaii. And the reason I'm speaking about that is because the golf courses, which we all enjoy, and a lot of other things, are going to suffer from the lack of water. Now, perhaps there's enough water coming in, but after all, we are an island, and we don't have a river, like the Colorado River or something running by. So I think we have a limited resource here. So I'm wondering if anyone has contacted or told the tourism industry about this fracking endeavor, or if they planned on doing anything about that. Hopefully, all of you will vote against this fracking, and I thank you all for considering supporting this bill, and as well for protecting the green on our golf courses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw.
Yes, it's Jeff Shaw.
Jeff, okay, thanks.
But anyhow, I just wanted to start off by saying that, the age when we can destroy our environment to create profit should be way behind us. I mean, I don't know how it's continuing as long as it has. I mean, I can look around here in this room here and just see that the lighting that you're using, the fluorescent lights and stuff, I mean, those things are, 20th century technology, I mean, it's the 21st century now. And why, you haven't gone totally LED in here, I don't know. I mean, you could cut your lighting resource, your bill, by probably, at least 50%. So anyhow, it takes, thinking in the whole, and we don't need to be resorting to things like fracking to create an economy on this island. I just read recently about a project at the research facility at Hale. That's a pilot program where they're taking the water, the deep water, and extracting, power from that. And, it's kind of like a heat pump, a giant heat pump. And they were saying that if that pilot program goes well, the baseline for this entire island can be created from that one place. So we don't need to be looking at things like fracking to spur the economy. So if anybody comes in here with the idea that the economy will not happen without fracking, they're just looking at their own self-interest. But the other thing I wanted to point out was that like you have the lava shells that crash into the ocean from time to time. Well, there's also a crack along Kilauea that goes for miles, and there is the potential for a whole large segment of the island to just fall into the ocean. It's happened with the Hawaiian Islands before, and just naturally. That's how some of these cliffs are made, and the evidence is down on the ocean floor. I mean, I'm not a geologist, but this is pretty much a fact. And when you have situations like that can occur, and there's really not too many places on the planet that this will happen. And the tsunamis that are created, if that happens, I don't think you want to be thinking that in some small way you could have been responsible to keep that from happening and you didn't do anything. So anyhow, that's it. Thank you for bringing the bill.
Thank you. Robert, Tracy, and Derek Brewer. Robert, you're up.
Aloha, my name is Robert Petrucci. I'm representing the Punapono Alliance today. We would like to thank Brenda, particularly, and the council in general for being proactive and having foresight to introduce anti-fracking legislation. As we've seen on Oahu and Maui, if you're watching that, they've mismanaged their water resources there to the point that now they're fighting over water on those islands, and I think we should take a lesson from that. These are the same people now that are trying to subvert our home rule. They've really made a mess of Oahu and Maui and some of the other places, and now they want to tell us, how we should develop our island. I think we should look at the mess they created before we fall into that. The fracking, including enhanced geothermal systems, induces seismicity across the United States and around the world. You've heard about Basel, Switzerland. Well, it's also happened in Germany. It's also happened in, I believe it's called Gillette, Switzerland, another place in Switzerland. And there was a study that came out in 2013, I think it was April, that shows across the Midwest now they have induced seismicity from all of the fracking there. And the earthquakes are there's a lot of micro earthquakes, but they're as big as 3.6 in Switzerland, and I believe as high as 5 maybe in the mainland. It's something we should look at because we live on the most seismically active area on the planet, and before we start fracking, we should take a good look at that. In fact, I haven't heard anybody here in favor of fracking. Since there doesn't seem to be any support, why don't we we just pass the bill and move on? I could go on and on. There's so many reasons not to do this. You hear about the chemicals that they re-inject for fracking, but what we have to realize is the geothermal resource is also toxic. If you fracture that ground, you have a potential to release that resource into the aquifer. So there's all these other things going on here. Like I said, there's no opposition. Please pass the bill. Thank you, Brenda.
Mr. Brewer?